my religious journey. This is video number 9. We're going to talk to you about some things that people don't like to address because they don't want to deal with themselves. So, one of the things I want to talk about, I talked to a pastor a few weeks back, and if you don't know what you're talking about, they'll tell you anything. And so, when you know what when you know what you're talking about, it kind of makes them change their conversation. Well, each time I meet one of them, they're telling me their ranks and what they are, and the stories that they tell. Well, one tells me, he says, "This church, you should come to this church because this church is God is moving through this church." And I said, "What do you mean God is moving through this church?" Well, he goes on to say that people have been coming in with wheelchairs and walkers, and they've been walking out of there, and they've been healed. He's seen a lot of healing going on, and God is moving through the church. Now, you're talking to a person that, if you watch my last video, I talk about how, and I'll get more scriptures later on down the line about how God said his temple is not made out of wood and stone. What he's saying is he's not in a place where people have buildings, but rather in a person. And God is within you. So when this man's telling me this, he's telling me that there's miracles and all these things are happening in his church. I further say, okay, well, how come you can't do that at hospitals? Go to the hospitals and perform these miracles, which I already knew what his answer was going to be. His answer would be, not everybody believes. You have to have faith and you have to believe that you're going to be healed. Not all people believe, which reverts me back to the thing he said the first. He says that the church that he's going to has been healing people. So if he says that healing comes from a person believing, so was it really the church? No, it was not the church that was healing. It was a person believing they were going to an establishment to get healed. When I was a young Christian, I used to go around traveling, trying to find places to see who had the best word, who was going to tell me something that I needed to hear from God. And you follow a lot of people, and it's like you're waiting in the crowd to be somebody to pick you out and say, "God told me to tell you this." And you go there and you're excited. I remember the excitement in my mind, hoping that I traveled this far, I paid this kind of money, and I put this kind of money in for a big return. And you find some of the stories that I used to hear now as a young man, from one guy saying that you can eat whatever you want and you're going to lose weight. And you hear these stories that they tell, like the story about the church is healing. You got to watch some of these people who are teaching. And the reason why is because they know they're preying on people's mental illness. You got people who watch mega churches all the time on Sundays. They turn on their church. They don't want to be bothered. But that's the only church they have in them, is watching somebody else tell stories and applying scripture to some of their stories. And they're usually just saying the same thing over and over again. So what I want you to understand is it's not about going to a place. It's about knowing the truth. So today I'm going to tell you some things that they usually don't teach in those type of establishments. So the word Golgotha. Golgotha is the place where David fought a giant. I'm sure you heard of this. David was fighting a giant, and the giant came, and he was a Philistine, and David cut the giant's head off after he threw a smooth rock and a slingshot hit him in the head. He cut his head off and he put his head on Golgotha. Now, this Golgotha comes up a couple times in the Bible. Calva, Calva, the Latin means the scalp or bald head. Calvary or Golgotha means skull. So when they say Golgotha, they're saying skull. The Greek cranion, which is really cranium, is the upper part of the head. Root word kara, K-A-R-A, or head. John 19:17 says, bearing his cross, he went forth into a place called the place of of a skull, which in the Hebrew called Golgotha. He went into the place of a skull, not onto, but in, so within you. So he went in this place instead of being on the skull, into the skull. So you can imagine where I'm going with this. Golgotha meaning skull, or bald head, or scalp, uh, and the word Calvary. If you know what the word Calvary means in the Bible, you'll understand where I'm going with this. So Luke 23:33 says, they come to a place called Calvary. There they crucified him. And the malefactors, one on the right hand and other on the left hand. Now, as you can understand, you got two people, one on each side of supposedly Jesus, and Jesus in the middle. And what this is illustrating is right there in the middle is where you'll be crucified in your skull. Now, what happened at the scenery was two of the people were guilty. One of them said, hey, we were both guilty for what we've done. But this man here in the middle is not guilty for what he has done. Jesus respected that, said those are words from heaven, so he shall go to heaven with him. But the other guy never changed his. So what that's letting you know is you have negative and positive thoughts. You also have two sides of your brain. You have your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere of your brain. So the two thieves are one of each side of your brain. Now, it's what you do with your thinking, of how you crucify your thinking. Let's get back into this. So, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and whosoever shall know themselves shall find it. This is an ancient Egyptian proverb. So it's saying, to find heaven, you have to understand within yourself, which in video number 8, I talk about where the kingdom is, where heaven is, and where's the temple. It's within you. So all these things are illustrating. Crucify your skull, crucify your thinking, know yourself, master oneself. Here's another. Jesus crucified between two polarities on Golgotha, the place of the skull, the most holy place inside the human skull, the symbolic holy mountain, the place masters go to commune and to receive the commandments or tablets of the Word of God. If you know your theology or your mythology, you'll understand these things that I'm talking. The whole goal is to master yourself and to be a better person. To find out how to be a better person, you have to do something you've never done. Obviously, you've been living by your two worldly eyes and not your spiritual eye. Your spiritual eye is the one that comes on when it's dark time. It comes on when you're dreaming, when you're having lucid dreaming, or when you're meditating, or when you're in your prayer closet, whatever you want to call it. But what that does is you turn off your worldly eyes. When you turn off your worldly eyes, you open your spiritual eye. Your spiritual eye is your teacher. What it does is it shows you a spiritual thing while you're in a physical realm. So you understand how to walk. You understand how to create your thinking pattern better, and to also what comes out of you is more better than what's been coming out of you before, because once you walk worldly, you may have mastered the worldly walk, but you haven't mastered the spiritual walk. And you were spiritual before you were worldly. So now the goal is to bring spiritual things to the world. We're supposed to be the ones who are creating good soil here, keeping the soil good so things can grow right. We're supposed to be walking in a way, definitely not the way that these people are teaching at these establishments when they're saying the stuff that they say about, I heard a guy, a pastor, try to pray for me and say some of these things he don't understand, and can he pray for me? And when he prayed for me, he blatantly disrespected me, tried to disrespect me in a prayer by saying that I know the devil comes in looking like a sheep and these words and and I laughed because before he even said this fake prayer, and this is why you got to watch when people pray for you. A lot of people say they're praying for you. A lot of them are praying against you because they don't have the action that you're bringing forth, and they're keeping people in a childish state. What I mean in a childish state is, if I'm not teaching you no truth and you keep coming to me every week, maybe. So some of them have church on Sundays. Some of them have Bible study on Wednesdays. Multiple days to try to get the business to make some money, because each one of them mostly has tithes and offerings and things, so they can keep collecting money. But the goal is, what are you learning there? Because if the Bible's telling you that there's a intercessor or a teacher that's going to teach you spiritually, then these people are not spiritual teachers. So what are they teaching you? If God say the kingdom is in you, the temple is within you, heaven is within you, so how come you are not dealing with yourself? Because some people shy away from mastering themselves. And what I mean by mastering yourself is 100% of the times you're the one that create your own problems. You can walk up to somebody, I can walk up to a lady and say, hey, you look beautiful today. And they can be, thank you, you made their day. They smile. You can walk up to somebody and say, you about an ugly one. And they can say, you ugly as hell too. And y'all can go back and forth and y'all can talk mess to each other. And then that person had a bad day all day and said, my day started off messed up and somebody called me ugly and this and this. And that's just the power of words. But that person who called that person ugly hasn't mastered themselves, because they don't understand that people are a reflection of you. Everyone you come in contact with is a mirror of you. What I mean is, we're supposed to be in a oneness. The oneness is, once you understand that the Creator is within you, and you become the Creator by creating things in this realm, then you're at oneness. You understand that man and creation, or human and creation, are one, and that we're on the same page. Now, there's different characters and egos and things in that manner that we have that's different. So when you got your ego, sometimes your ego, and we're going to get deep into about the ego situation, because the egos and our characters and our persona is a lot of the reasons why we clash, or why people are not on the same page. But you have to be a better person. Sometimes when you go to these places, they're not teaching you to be a better person. They're teaching you walk like me, talk like me, act like me. For instance, I've seen this growing up as a child. And when a child is growing up, they're watching the things around in their surroundings. And they're not usually gathering in just the good stuff, but they're taking in the bad too, because they're trying to form themselves to become into a human in this world. And then so they take upon things. So times where you go into, like a church facility, and your mother tells you, y'all, we're gonna get in, we're gonna get out, don't be running around, I'm not playing with you, cussing the kids out. Then turn around, get there and say, remember what I told you, let's go into church and get in, get out. Go into church, hey, pastor, thank you, oh, Jesus is my Savior, this and this, and all holy acting. They change their persona. It's almost like changing your shirt. So they changed their shirt when they in front of the pastor. But when they was in the car, they was wearing a different shirt. They was wearing a shirt that says, this is how I really feel. But then they switch shirts and go in there, and they're like, oh, yeah, my kids, I was just telling my kids today how blessed we are, and yada, 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 and church get out. They're telling the kids, we've been here all damn day, get in the car, let's go. Don't say nothing, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I got to work tomorrow. And then the kids are watching how you go to this facility, you're acting all holy, but then you're out, you're back to normal. And you may say, hey, Mom, why are you cussing? Or Dad, and they say, you can't judge me, shut up, I'm the one pay the bills, and you watching this, and this is a character you're taking upon you. And they go home, or say the next day they go to work, and they're working, hi, may I help you at work? They wear a different shirt at work. Hi, may I help you today? If they're customer service. And they can't be themselves, and they go home, they're like, customers all picky, I don't want to cuss this lady out, yada, yada, I can't stand this job. And it's the shirt that they wear there, because they have to make money. But you can never find out who you are, as you created all these voices in your head. You can't be yourself. The reason why you can't be yourself is because this world has an image on you that's not of you. And to master yourself, you have to be in touch with the dark sides of you. The things that you shouldn't be doing, the things that you pay prices for, that some people say, hey, I can't pay my bills, but you got time to drink. The first thing in rehabilitation is admitting you have a problem. And the reason why a lot of people are going to these places because they don't want to admit that they have a problem. And not only do you admit is the first step of saying you have an issue with yourself, is then once you say you have an issue, you start to address it and you start to figure out how to fix it. And the only way that comes is within you. It's not nobody else can walk it for you because other people can tell you have a problem and you don't see it. You know, it takes you to understand that you have the problem. And I had to overcome things myself, you know, and things that's tough. You know, I did a thing with 30 days no meat because I know I love meat. But I was thinking, does meat have a hold on me that when it's taken away from me, how do I act? Will I lash out at people? What can I learn from my body? And so you learn to master a lot of things in your life. And it's infinite water of knowledge to master things. It's so much to learn. That's why every day if you haven't learned something every day, then you're not living. So every day you should be learning something. You know, sky's the limit for you. What you put to block you from going where you're going. But the reason why I'm talking about these establishments is because I reached out to numbers of them, and I understand that it's more of a hustle game. After certain pastors told me their titles and everything, and I told them, you know, I got my license as well, but there are some things I have that's not right with this whole situation. And so I point out some things. And they'll all tell me, you're very intelligent, you're very wise, yada, 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 you know. And then it takes their titles off, that apostle, that bishop, that elder, you know, these titles that they have when they try to tell you, I just want you to know you're talking to dominancy. And then when you break it down to them some intelligent stuff, then they start to take those titles and strip them. You know, they might ask you, hey, what books do you got? You know, show me what you read. You know, ask you questions, and because they never heard of this, and this is the problem when you're bound to a book. I'm going to get further down in my journey. I don't want to spill the beans, but what I have learned is a lot of books are written because they're for people who don't want to change themselves. A lot of people don't want to change themselves. They like to go to places to feel comfortable, or to somebody do the work for them to make them feel comfortable. And it's hard to keep oil in your lamp if you're always trying to figure out where the hot spot is to get oil when you should be having your own oil, your own organic oil. So I won't get deep into bashing them, but I do have an issue with their teachings. I do have an issue with what they say in their chants. And when I mean they, I'm talking about the pastors or whoever you want to talk about, thinking they have rank over people because they play this role called interpreter or a intercessor or someone who can only speak to God and can tell you what God has to say about you when it's not true. It's not true at all. Because if it was true, like I asked a guy, how come you're not at hospitals doing this, healing people? Well, that's just like why fortune tellers are not rich hitting the lottery every day, because they really don't know no fortune telling. It's a hustle, you know. So they're not saving people and they waving their hands and people falling out, shaking, and you don't want to be the one not shaking and falling out, going with the flow. This is realness. This is about people being better humans. This is about you, not somebody pointing out and judging things about you. You can judge a character, but you can't judge the person, because you can tell the character's off, you know. But what I want you to understand is you should be doing it first. If you can't better yourself, you can't better anything around you. Your first environment is in your mind. So if your environment in your mind is off track, your environment on your outer, your world is going to be off track. So hopefully you gather something out this video, and this is more about you becoming better with yourself, understanding yourself, and understanding that you're the one who creates your own issues. Now, don't get me wrong. There's things that's millions of years old that's in us that, you know, what they would call traditional curses or breaking family curses. But what it is things that we evolve that's in our DNA from our ancestors that we become better at, and we have better opportunities than they had. And so we get to do something with it as they pass the torch. So you get to evolve. But if you're not evolving and you're stagnant, then you're just dying faster and not knowing what the world is. You don't want to be your last day on this earth to want the thing that you already have, and that's life. Because once you on your last day, only thing you're worried about is life. And loving people. All the distractions is what kept you not understanding the true journey that you were supposed to be on. So I hope you gather something out of this, and I hope you're practicing on being a better person. Watching what you say to people, watching the vibes that comes off you, what's your aura. Not only what's your aura, your Taurus. You have radiant coming off you called the Taurus, and what that vibe is coming off of you can be negative or positive. And when you use negative, you destroy things. You send information to the cells in your body, you destroy things. You send information to other people that push people away from you. So hopefully you're understanding a lot of this, and you're getting it. It's not to tear down those buildings, but if you believe in that book, the book says that it's about you. Heaven is within you. The temple's within you. The kingdom is within you. Stop going to places to where they're keeping you in a child state, to where you have to keep coming to them and get some candy. I got some candy for you little kids, but you really don't got nothing for them but a bad toothache. So become a better person. Let's love each other for real. Let's understand the truth. Let's all shine so bright that as we shock this soil, that things change. All right. Have a wonderful day.